our contributions in education will be our legacy in this industry.
Whether it's through live education or maybe through social media, we're always trying to make a personal connection with you, the learner.
At Sanvia, we believe our smile is our business card and our personality is our logo. And how we make people feel after you experience our education and tools is our trademark.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us, my friends, and be a part of the Sanvia community.
Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. I'm your host, Andrew Carruthers, Education Director for you know who, Sanvia. Yeah, you've probably heard that before, I guess. Hey, if you haven't checked in yet on the chat, go ahead and check in. Let us know where you're watching from. We love to see that we have such an international crew that comes in for these. So cool. We've got Ghana in the house. We've got Italy in the house. We've got every corner of the United States in the house already. Jane, I want to call you out. Congratulations on being at Palm Mitchell School. It's a great place to be. Thank you for watching, and I'm glad that these are helping you out. Tara Duddy's in the house, always here. I just love it. Nancy Torres, how you doing? You're always here with us. So cool. Tennessee, Nebraska, Albany, New York, Ohio. Love it. So yeah, keep checking in there. Just a couple little housekeeping pieces for you all. We've got tons of education coming up for you next week. You're probably going to get a little sick of my face because I have a lot next week. Sammy's got a lot going on, so I'm going to be filling in. Next week, we're taking Mannequin Monday off. We've got on the 13th, Transformation Tuesday. I'm going to be teaching you some tips for cutting thick, coarse, curly curls. My wife, Michelle, she's half Thai, half French. So she's got that like super thick coarseness of Thai hair, but then she inherited beautiful curls from her father. So we're going to cut some super thick, super coarse curls together. I'm going to have her as my model. So we actually have a live model next week. Wellness Wednesday next week. So once again, you're going to have to get a little used to seeing this mug because it's just going to be me next week. But one of my incredible passions is talking and teaching about conversation. So we're going to talk a bit about DISC profile, which is a profile that teaches you about how you communicate with your world. How do we implement that into our lives? And how do we just have better conversations? Because let's be honest, y'all, we need to have better conversations. That's the truth. So we're going to talk about that next week. Next Sunday, we've got the show must go on for you. And look at this lineup. Of course, you got me and Sammy, as always, but you have Chelsea Von James, who is an international hairdresser, international teacher. She's going to be sharing some amazing haircutting, creative haircutting. We have Lori Zabel, who's a Redken master artist and a stylist at Dop Dop Salon. Also a NAHA winner, multi-NAHA winner. She's going to be out there for you. And here's what I think is cool. Still within the industry, sometimes we kind of have this like, okay, girls kind of do the color, guys end up doing all the hair cutting. Well, these two girls are going to rock that because they cut better than any of us do. So they're going to flip that script upside down, which I think is brilliant. So that being said, thank you guys for checking in. So good to see all of you guys in the chat here. We got the UK in the house. Man. So let's talk about our guest today. This man has been a good friend of mine personally, also a huge supporter and great friend to our entire community here at Sanvia. You've actually met him before on some of our education, our YouTube channel. But Steve is, I really can't say this enough. He is brilliant when it comes to a salon business. The way this guy's mind works, he has flipped certain scripts upside down for us. Like we said, that in the past, the way that we priced ourselves the way that we've worked with our finances, our booking, everything, he just has such incredible creative input for that. So today we're going to be talking more from a leadership mindset, and don't take off if you're not necessarily an owner or a manager in your salon. Don't jump off ship, because I promise you, we are all leaders in our own right, and he's going to share some incredible stuff with you that will help you throughout your business. So definitely stick around. So I've talked plenty. It's time to get on with the show. How's that from my UK accent? Was it okay? Just let me know. So everybody, let's say hello to my good friend, our good friend here at Sam Villa, Mr. Steve Gomez.
What's going on, brother? What is going on, man? How are you?
I'm fantastic, and you're looking beautiful over there.
Well, thank you. I'm doing my best. This is for Julie Medlin over there in the UK. I have this is an infused oil called Sleep. It's just for you, Julie. It's got a little geranium, some citrus, and some lavender. And, it's just, it's one of those, just put a little bit right there and kind of dab it around here and there before you go to bed. Maybe put it on the pillow and you'll get to sleep. You and our friends in Ghana that are joining us today. How humbling and how honored that is. So, Hey, everybody. And thank you so much, Andrew, for having me. I'm always honored. I love you, Sam, the whole team's always great to be jamming with you guys.
For sure. Steve, just, give them a little bit of your background. I'd love for them to get to know you better.
Sure. So, I've been around the industry my whole life. Professionally, I've been for over 26 years now, coaching and training. I own my own company. Prior to launching my own brand in 2016, I worked for Milady. A lot of you here stateside, really around the globe, possibly, are going to know Milady from cosmetology school, from the textbooks and whatnot. I did an 8-year stint with them as a subject matter expert, writer, content creator. Before that, I worked for a training and coaching company for almost a decade. Launched my own brand in 2016, Andrew, out of a commitment. At that point in my life, I was 46 at the time, and I was asking myself, what am I going to do with the next 25 years of my professional life? And I was in that place where I didn't want to look back and have regret that I didn't try to do the thing I wanted to try. And that was really to get back to training and coaching, rolling up my sleeves and digging into businesses in our industry and supporting transformation from a systemic, from a financial, from a data-based, from an operational point of view, from a cultural point of view. That's my jam. That's my bread and butter. That's what I love. And I loved working as a writer and content creator, but my passion is being with people and really supporting people. And I've always had that entrepreneurial flair and wanted to get back to that, and the funny thing is that whole path came because when I ran my company way back in the day, I ran it into the ground because of what I didn't know from a financial perspective. I never got past algebra in high school, never thought I'd understand the stuff, avoided it like the plague. Built a successful business based on hard work. I told myself since I wasn't smart enough, I'd have to be the one working harder than everyone. I'd be the first one there and the last one to leave. So the hustle factor has always been there. But I ran my business into the ground. I got audited. In our industry, we love to keep the cash and the tips, and they saw the bank statements and sales receipts, and they saw that discrepancy, and they went 5 years back on me. I owed them 80 grand I didn't have back in the year 2000. So that led to bankruptcy. That led to losing my house, couch surfing, had about $1,000 to my name at the time when I was introduced to a business coach in this industry. And that 20-minute discussion, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. I ended up going to the Bank of Mom to hire my coach. And I think a lot of us have done that in certain ways, shapes, or forms along the road.
Thank God for moms, right?
Yeah, thank God for moms or dads or aunts or uncles or grandparents or whoever chipped in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I got to work on myself. And the biggest thing I got to work on, Andrew, was that I realized was my perception. I was telling myself I wasn't smart enough in an area and overcompensating in others and avoiding that area. And to be able to realize that my thought process was an impediment, and I was putting up these barriers between myself and seeing a clear pathway to long-term financial success, and really understanding that I could comprehend the world of salon and spa finance if I so believed. And that was so transformative. Not only did I go on and rebuild everything and pay off all the debts and rebuild the credits and rebuild my company and sell it for a profit and go through all those things, but the big thing for me was I had found my path. I knew what was next for me. And I found I found my life path. So I got offered to join this company. I moved my life out to California to do it. And I haven't looked back. I've coached over 450 salons of all different shapes and sizes to date. I help everybody. It doesn't matter if you're in a suite or you got multiple operations.
Nice.
And I've been able to train all over the place. I saw my friend from Italy, Como stai? I hope you're doing well over there. I had the honor of being in Florence with 60 salon owners in February, one of my last trainings I did before the shutdown. And it was such an honor to go over there. We translated a bunch of the spreadsheets from my book and into Italian, and it was really cool. And, I kind of like you, I'm sure you never thought this would be our jam and this would be how we be living our world, but it just kind of elevates and it continues to progress. And, that's kind of how I've gotten to where I am now, and it's led us to meet. We've known each other a decade now, and we've shared a lot of stages and done a lot of collaborating, and excited for more of that too, man.
For sure. Yeah. And what I love about your story, Steve, is I feel like it's pretty relatable, especially like I know when I was a young hairdresser, I kind of did those same things like, ooh, cash, nice, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, I'm trying to buy a house and I can't show any income and all of these things. I'm like, oh, wait, how much do I owe on my taxes? Uh-oh. So I think that we sometimes get caught up in that numbers are just numbers, but numbers are lifestyle. Like if we don't have Ronit was on, Ronit, she was on and she really talked about that specifically, that we have to get past this concept that our wealth is just this number, this financial, percentage. It's our lifestyle. It's how we have a lifestyle. So I think it's so incredibly important. And I know that you have a huge passion for that.
Andrew, what's interesting about that, just to kind of marinate on it for a minute.
Yeah.
Two things. One, for those of you out there that jam with color and love color, or love the symmetric of a cut and the angles and the geometry of it, it's all math. It's all numbers, and I read a book called The History of Mathematics, and it was a fascinating read. And it's not, it's written in story form, which was great for me, right?
Yeah.
But it just told stories, and it really compelled the message that math, really, if I can get precise, ethnomathematics, which is global mathematics, and that all around the world throughout different points in history, different people, different societies and races around the world were finding the same mathematical equations in their own ways at different times without knowing each other. And that when you look at and see all the patterns and shapes around us, even the patterns that printed that really cool shirt that you're wearing today, that's math at work. So all around us is this ebb and this flow of energy, and really that's what mathematics is. And if you love that color that is mathematical creation, take that same love that allows you to propel your art form and realize that running your business and understanding the data presented, whether it's a profit and loss statement or a sales report from your software, that is your business communicating to you. Your business is
Mm.
this living and breathing organism full of complexity, full of things that are empowering and growing, and things that are maybe challenged and need you to look at it. And if you're avoiding learning it, you're missing the opportunity to see how your business is communicating to you. And if you've learned it, but your behaviors and daily habits of where you spend your time is taking you away from it, then, and that's a little segue into kind of what we're going to jam about today. But, that's then taking you away from where you need to be, whether you work for yourself, whether you work as part of a team, whether you own the whole thing. You need to be grounded in what that information is giving you, because it's facts. And when you get the facts, it allows you to manage and grow from there. And I think that's a really powerful thing that I've learned. Trina, you are so welcome. It can be very cool, and especially when you take the time to shift your thinking around it. It's just taking off this way of looking at it and seeing it from this perspective, and I think that's absolutely critical. And nowadays, more than ever, with what we're facing globally as human beings and globally in our industry, we must be grounded in things like data that give us truth, and we can then operate from truth,
Yeah. And, the whole title of our discussion tonight was certain leadership in uncertain times. And I think it's so important, again, don't jump off of this thing if you don't think you're a leader, because especially if you are a booth renter, a salon suite owner, you sure as hell are a leader. You're a leader of yourself. You are the owner, you are the stylist, you are the staff, you are the everything. So
you really
are your own leader. And I think everything that you're going to share with us tonight is really going to connect to any kind of stylist, right?
Yeah. And Andrew, it's even for those of you that work as part of a team, you're a commissioned or hourly employee, you're part of a staff, you're a leader. Why is that? Because 15 to 20 people a week trust you with how they look and feel. 15 to 20 a week means 60 to 80 to 100 a month trust you. And if it's 15 to 20 a week and they cycle through every 6 weeks, you can start to do the math. There's 90 to a couple hundred people in your community that trust you with something so intimate, and trust you to listen, and trust you to be grounded, and trust you to serve at a high level. And today, in this world, in this climate that we're navigating, trust you to be that. Yeah. So one way that you can continue to strengthen yourself to be that person for them is by carving out time to A, realize that you're that leader, and B, looking at your own performance and your own data and using it as a springboard to drive your creativity and your ingenuity and your imagination, so that you can think about each person before they come in and think about what would be the most optimum look for them, and style for them, and shape for them, and color for them, and what would be the most optimum maintenance and health schedule for them that I could recommend. That comes from data. That comes from that if I have Andrew coming in, if I have you coming in, I'm thinking about you before you show up instead of right when you're walking in the door. I'm looking back at your last 3 visits. I'm analyzing trends with you. I'm thinking about what does he need that is going to have him walk out feeling, wow, I can't believe I just got that. Because if you just do what Andrew's coming in for, I meet the expectation. But now more than ever, we must exceed it. We have to exceed the expectation. And when you take a minute to be grounded by the data, and you take that data and put it into a human terms, like I'm looking at what you've done over the last 3 visits, and I'm thinking about the impact that that's having on you, and what should I recommend, knowing that it's going to benefit you. And I stand behind the ultimate recommendation to give you that ultimate look and feel and maintenance schedule. Then I could sleep at night because I have my professional integrity that I've made those recommendations. And I haven't let anything get in the way, like, oh, we can't afford it, or I'm not sure, all those things that get in the way. I'm empowering you to make a choice for what's best for you. And I'm allowing data to be that springboard for me to get that creative, and that is critical for every leader. Salon owners and spa owners do that at a macro level for the whole business by department with teams. But each of you, whether you're a renter, a suite owner, or you work with somebody as an employee for them, you've got to take leadership for who you are and what you do. Nobody else is going to do it for you. That has to be the mentality,
For sure. Yeah, and if you are someone out there listening and you feel like you are having a hard time knowing, well, what should I do? Kind of confused, like, what should I be doing? Where should I be putting my attention? Where should I be putting my focus? Just put a yes or a that's me into the chat.
Please do. You're so not alone. If you've heard my story, I've made it my life's path to support all of us to relate to the world of finance or tracking in a way that's creative and exciting, to go from anxiousness to excitement, to go from lack of clarity to curiosity. The next time you sit down to learn something, remember that it's not what Andrew's going to teach or what Steve is going to teach. It's not the content or the facilitator. It's how you perceive and relate to it. You control your learning experience. So if you tell yourself it's going to be hard, you've just created a world you're about to walk into that is hard. So you get to control your learning experience by getting present to how you relate to it. And I think that is not even half the battle, Andrew, with anything. That's 95% of the journey with learning something.
For sure. Yeah. Thanks, Jane, Shayna, and Nancy for piping in. And, one of the things that we talked about, Steve, is that one of your big recommendations, especially for people in leadership at this point, is to focus on what they do actually have control over, because we are definitely in a world that feels very out of control. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I launched this certain leadership in uncertain times, which I'm doing once a month, where I'm interviewing somebody. And I came up with that title because we are in uncertain times, but the only thing that is certain in uncertain times is the choices that we each make as individuals or part of a greater collective. See, right now we're in a greater collective conversation. We're all here together. Those of us that are on here live, those of us that will watch and listen to this, we're part of a greater collective. We're in a conscious dialogue right now. So what I can control is where I should focus. I can't control the pandemic. I can't control second shutdowns. I can't control the political climate and the impact that has. I can't control how many people are choosing to come back or not. I can't control any of those things. What can I control is what's going on in the four walls in which I'm working and breathing the fragrant spirit of who I am and want to be every day into other people soulfully and physically through the touch that I'm doing for them. I can control that. I can control where I spend my time. I can control what I'm engaged in. I can control who I engage with. Yes. Focus on what you can control. Because when you just start there every day, you get your feet back on the ground and you don't live circumstantially or situationally. You live proactively and you live a values-based existence amidst the storms, because life is coercive and it's fired at us point blank, and here it comes. All we can choose is who we're going to be as we face it. Are we going to be our values, or are we going to be the circumstance? And if you can remember that every day, am I being what I value, or am I being my circumstance? And hey, I'm not crazy enough to think that there aren't going to be circumstances and shit storms that we're all going to face that that day, that week. I was my circumstance. Some things are very overwhelming. I totally understand. I've had the unenviable task of walking 56 businesses through shutting their doors forever throughout this pandemic. 56 conversations I'll never forget. 56 conversations where I'm having to tell somebody that it's okay and it's not their fault. 56 conversations I've had to have with people where I'm hearing and feeling that's intense, the intensity of that energy, the sadness, the despair, the I wish I would have gotten things organized earlier, the regret, and so just soul crushing dialogue, and
Mm-hmm.
it's part and parcel of what I do. It's why I'm here. And I'm going to keep having those dialogues. I'm going to keep trying to help people gracefully transition into whatever is next for themselves, remembering that they're on a journey and there's a reason why all these things are occurring. So on behalf of those people that no longer can do what all of us still love to be doing, those 56 people would love to have the issues that we all face, so to me, we must use their loss and honor them and be humbled by their journeys, and to really live as fully as we can and focus on what we can control and give everything we can to the day, no matter what's occurring. And and just keep strengthening ourselves with these reminders. Focus on what I can control. Before you get out of your car, if you drive to work, or you get off the subway and you're walking to your shop, before you walk in there, you just check yourself. Say, okay, what can I control today? What's my perception going to be? It's not what I do today, but it's who I'm going to be today that's going to be the most impactful thing for self in my own preservation and growth, and then for others that count on and rely on me,
Yeah. If you guys have watched these shows consistently, you've probably heard me mention this quote before, but as nerdy as it is, it reminds me of my favorite quote from Lord of the Rings. And it's Frodo as he's talking to Gandalf. And Frodo, he looks at him and he's like, oh, I wish the ring had never come to me. Like, I wish this is not what had come to me. And Gandalf just drops the mic. He's like, so do all that live to see such times. But what we do have a choice is what we do with it. And I'm just like, oh, that's so incredible, because let's face it, there's not a single person in this group right now. There's not a single one of the 75 people that are watching right now that wishes that we were in this situation.
Of course.
But that doesn't support us. What it supports us is deciding, okay, this is my situation. This is the event that's occurring in my world. So what do I do with it? What do I do with my time, my focus, my energy? And I love that you've kind of hit such a simple point. Control the things you can control without being so incredibly influenced and affected, which is hard, by the things that we can't.
Amen, brother. You're also, hitting a nail. Foundationally, our ability to put daily practices in place that create a more conscious, spirited way of living and approaching the day is critical. And also, what are you surrounding yourself with? I've had the honor of training trainers throughout my career, like you have. And I was reading a Beverly. Whoa, knocked my seat down, man. That was awesome. I put my leg back and it just knocked the chair down. That was awesome. Anyways, I was reading a Beverly DeAngelis book, and she was teaching this process for couples to go through to strengthen their relationship. And I thought the process was a really awesome practice that can be adopted professionally. Especially when you think about what we do in our industry. We do so much to serve people, and we really are on stage. That haircut, that color, it's got to be perfect. There's no wiggle room there. So we put an immense amount of pressure on ourselves to do that right. It requires a tremendous amount of focus. And then we have to manage all the other things going on in our world. And a lot of times we just put on a brave face and go meet the day, but that could be exhausting. So this process was created. It's called the power process. And I do it before every coaching conversation. And I do it before every training that I do. And the power process is a way to get present and grounded in what you love. And the process goes through you getting present to what you don't like in the moment, whatever is there, what you want, and then what you love. Because there's always going to be something in our space that's going on. You know, I hate that I got a flat tire. I hate that I had a horrible night of sleep. I hate that I'm fighting this head cold. I hate that I'm dealing with these financial issues. Whatever the brain wakes up and gets into overdrive about, this dangerous neighborhood up here. So you're not looking to solve any of these issues. You're just looking to speak them into consciousness. And by saying it and getting it out there into the ethos, you begin the process of healing yourself in the moment. So then you immediately pivot to what you want. I want to have a powerful day. I want to be on point. I want to serve my guests. I want to speak the truth. I want to make recommendations that matter. I want to touch my creativity. I want to have fun with my team, whatever it is that you want for the day. And then getting present to what you love. You know, I love that I can be aware. I love that I can be conscious. I love my team. I love that I have a business that is still operating. I love that I have 20 people that work with me. I love that I have 10 guests today. I love my family. I love whatever it is. I love that big bass guitar behind Andrew. Whatever you're present to, right? You know, it's getting present to what you love. We live in a dangerous neighborhood up here, and there's so many things that can fly at us. Being responsible for what you bring to the day is just adopting practices, surrounding yourself with things. Like you see a bookshelf behind me filled with totems from my travels and things that are important to me and that remind me of who I am and who I must be. When I'm on my coaching calls, I'm on the other side of my desk and I face that. So that way, when I'm in that intense moment with a client and I'm supporting them to deal with something or go through something, what am I looking at? I'm physically surrounded by things that remind me of who I am, what I'm up to, the things I love, what my commitments and what my passions are. So I'm battling the situations that come at me by visually surrounding myself with the things that remind me of the bigger picture. So physically putting things in your space that support you throughout your day, and then doing reminders like the power process just to get yourself present. Those are very important things that have you focus on what you can control.
Yeah, I like that power process because it puts you back into that present moment, you know, because that's really what happens is when this thing starts spinning, 90% of the time you're thinking about what happened last week, or you're thinking about what might happen a couple of days from now, a couple of weeks from now, and trying to plan for it, when really what you have control over is what's happening right now. So I love that process because it just puts you right back into that present space. So to kind of eat off of that first thing that you had mentioned, to focus on what you do have control over, I know you also kind of said something to the tune of like to really make sure we're giving time specifically to that business aspect. So what do you mean by like make sure we're giving time to that?
Well, first of all, thank you, Tara, for saying that. You know, and I love your affirmation: never give up, level up. Amen to that. Yeah. I love that. What's Tara's that next awesome. Level? You know, nerds like myself and Andrew will totally appreciate that, because when we were growing up, level up meant that I got to the next level at Galaga or Pac-Man, right? Or I made it to the next level in, you know, playing Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid growing up. So anyways, I love leveling.
You know what Sega thumb is?
Oh yeah. It's called arthritis now. Anyways, you know, but I share my age and I digress. You know, so focus on what you can control. And then second, notice on what you're giving attention to. Where are you spending your time? You know, this is absolutely critical. And I think we did a live together amidst the shutdown when everybody was home. And one of the things that I was preaching and getting on the soapbox about, per se, was that right now your business isn't open, and now is the time to reorganize where you spend your time. And everybody should be carving out time other than late at night or on the day off during work time to give the business attention. And we don't do this enough. If you're an owner and you're listening to this, this is absolutely a must. And you know, everybody started to reopen again. And what did I see happening? the exact opposite of that. Everybody's just getting right back into the grind again and just grinding behind the chair, grinding in treatment rooms, work. Gotta see everybody, gotta make that money. And I get it. And you do got to make the money and you do have to recover. But you see, your business has changed. The climate has changed. To relate to the business the way it was before the pandemic hit us, do that at your own peril. You know, we are in an uncertain climate. There's so much that still has yet to happen around this. We're still amidst this pandemic isn't ending anytime soon. We're still amidst it. We're still in the opening 6-7 months of it, really. You know, it's going to be a while. We don't know how long we're going to have to be managing PPEs and the additional expenses and capacity issues. Andrew and I were just talking that parts of Brooklyn are going to be are facing a second shutdown again. I immediately texted my client and she sent me this grid, and I'll actually show you. I'll kind of put it up to the camera, this map. She sent me this map of Brooklyn, and the orange spots, the orange areas are the areas that are going to face a second shutdown, non-essential businesses. Her salon is outside of that, so lucky for her. But, you know, we just don't know what's coming our way. Again, uncertain times. So where you spend your time is critical. And, you know, as a coach, Andrew, I've always been committed to support salon owners and suite owners and professionals to carve out time, grow the sales, hand off clients to other people, get back half a day first, then a full day second. There's this thought process that is inaccurate. That is, if I work one day less, I'll make less money. Absolutely not true. You'll actually make more money for yourself if you do it the right way. I wrote a book called Financial Fitness, and in this book, I put a spreadsheet called How to Replace a Day, and literally goes through this whole algorithm based on your numbers that walks you through how to replace a day and actually make more profit in the process. So you have to give your business time and attention because it needs your time and attention. And it can't just be late at night after a long day behind the chair or on the weekend when you're exhausted and seeking balance, and then that's when you're going to do the work. That's not tenable. It's not sustainable. Mm-hmm. Your business needs you to give it attention, especially if you're the owner. The most important customer you have is your business. So you got to give it at least half a day each week in uninterrupted, quiet, reflective, analytical time where you're fresh and you can think and you can pour your creativity into it. And then you have to also get everyone involved in what you see. And I'll share a story about that in a minute, but I'd love your thoughts on that.
Well, again, kind of like coming from a perspective of like as an owner, I did kind of have specific time periods that were dedicated to business, but coming from the perception of just a stylist, that's something I wish I would have done, is to allocate specific time that is dedicated to my business. I mean, I would typically show up 25, 30 minutes before my shift. And during that time, I'd kind of get my station set up. I'd usually pull, we actually had printouts of each client. It showed what they had purchased recently, their service history and everything. And I would take that little bit of time in the morning, Steve, to just kind of go through and think, okay, well, how can I better my business today? But now I'm kind of thinking back, like how powerful could have my business been had it been an hour a day even? Like what if it was like your first hour from 8 to 9 a.m. or from 9 to 10 a.m. or something like that is business time. Maybe it's studying some business content, really looking at your numbers and percentages, things like that. I mean, could have had a better, much stronger business.
Well, think of it this way. You know, your business is bigger than you, even if you work on your own, because your business now is 100 guests a month that come see you. So it's bigger than just you now. So you must give time and attention to things like how we serve guests and treat them inside the service cycle. You must give time and attention to How are we marketing? What are we marketing? Why? What resources do we need? Who's doing it well? Who's not? Who do I need to coach, and who needs a boost? You must give time and attention to your finances and what they're communicating to you. You must give time and attention to your inventory and the different aspects of your business. If you look at a salon business, it is multiple businesses under one roof. You've got your services that you provide. That has its own cultural identity and way that we market, position, and communicate it. It's got its own expenses and systems that are attached to it. You've got your retail business, a whole nother separate entity that has its own marketing plans, its own merchandising, its own brand identity, its own tracking, its own mechanisms and way of serving guests. You've got your gift card business, if you do that, or memberships, or if you do that, rental, if you do that. All of these are separate income streams that are all separate businesses that need time and attention. And if you're not stopping to reflect and think and give it that, then you're certainly managing circumstantially and situationally. Right. You also have to give time to people. The most precious capital you have is your human capital. Your most precious resources are the human ones. And you need to give your team time and attention. And you can't just do it on the fly, in between colors. Now let's go have our one-on-one. And I got another appointment. So let me look at my watch and see. That's managing. That's not leading. You must give time and attention to your team, so that you can be present and grounded and thoughtful and reflective and open and ready, because they need your time and attention more than anything else. And you must get them involved in the decision-making process. I wrote a book called Interdependent Leadership, and the whole languaging behind it is interdependence. We want people that can be independent spirited, like give me the ball and let me run with it, Andrew, right? Give me the scissors and shears or whatever, and let me go rock. I got it. But I want to be part of a collective. I want to work with, not on an island by myself, just spouting off opinions, being a diva. I want to work with, I want to serve, I want to be part of a greater collective, a greater consciousness. And part of the philosophy behind that book is when you get people involved in what they help to create, then you only have to coach on habit and behavior. So when you get people involved at the inception of ideas, then they're being brought in and they feel valued for their contribution. My opinion matters to my leader. So I now have you at a values-based place. We're grounded in the same value. And when we're creating something together, we're there at the inception of it. So we have a common perception. So when we have values handled and perceptions handled, now we only have to coach and lead people based on their habit and behavior. Are they following through? But see, a lot of times owners come up with all the ideas themselves. They listen to something like this, and then they just go and they tell people what they're going to do. And then people are like, okay, or they resist vocally. But then as a leader, you have to then sift through, all right, they're not doing it. Is it because they're disconnected from it from a values point of view? Are they disconnected from a perception and thinking? They don't relate or understand? Or is it behavior and habit? Now you have to go through all those layers. So you have to get people involved at the inception of things. So that way you cover the values, you cover the perception, and then everybody marches forward looking at, okay, behaviorally, what are the potential pitfalls that we all have to identify and look out for? Get your team involved, everybody. I don't care even if it's you by yourself in a suite, you know who your team is? Your sales consultant, your brand consultant. If you're connected to a brand like Samvia, you're reaching out and you're emailing Andrew. You're saying, hey, I'm trying to do this. Can you help me? You email somebody like me. You work with coaches like myself or Ronit or any of the others out there that you resonate with, so that you get that collaborative spirit going for your business and you focus time and attention on your business so that you can continue to foundationally grow from heart to brain to actualize.
Yes, he did, Nancy. She's like, he went deep. That's the truth. Yes.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. Tara, yeah, so important to feel included. And Jacqueline, yes, thank you. And Joanne. What hits home so strong with this is just that we're just nothing without community. Like we're nothing without connection. And that was always one of the things. I love what you just said, because that was always one of the things I almost had concern for like the suite renters. Like when I talk to students and stuff, we talk about that really often, Steve, where it's like, they're like, well, should I go commission? Should I go booth rent? Should I go suite rental? What should I do? And so we'll have a conversation of the give and take with each one of those. And typically one of the things I say about suite rentals, and like, if you're kind of that person that likes to sort of like have your own space and do your own thing, maybe it's a good choice. Just recognize that the opportunity for teamwork and community is not quite as strong. But what you just said kind of shifts that perspective, because you can still have community. Your sales reps, the Sambia community, you're always welcome here to find community. And I have been to quite a few suites where like they kind of keep their doors open and they're the person across the halls, like their buddy and stuff. And so, that it's so important to have that sense of connection, I think.
But let me also throw a wrinkle there, though. A lot of students come out of school and they immediately want to go suite. I'm just going to go on my own. So one caveat I do have for this message is, if you're just getting out of school, go find a mentor, go work for a year or two at least in a business. Go be in a business around other people, and find an environment that you can grow and learn in, because there's so much to learn. Find a mentor who's going to push you and get you uncomfortable. And that's the thing. Whenever your ego is challenged, when your self-doubt shows up, when you become vulnerable, when somebody's pushing your buttons, that's actually not a bad thing. That's a pretty good thing. Mm-hmm. In fact, when you feel uncomfortable or vulnerable, that's actually the universe saying you're alive. You're woken up. Mm-hmm. You're not doing the same thing, expecting a different result. So having somebody point things out is one of the greatest things that you can have. I mean, that's what I do as a coach. Anybody that hires me to work with them, I let them know, I'm not here for popularity. I'm here on behalf of what you say you want, and I'm here on behalf of everybody that trusts you with their livelihood. So therefore, I'm going to push, and I'm going to push empathetically and with respect, but I'm going to do it, and out of a commitment to what you said you want. Sometimes you're not going to like it. Sometimes you're going to hate it. Sometimes you're going to hate me. Sometimes you're going to love it and love me. Sometimes you're going to be clear. Sometimes you're going to be confused. That's exactly the process that you should be in, because that is where growth happens. And I think if all of us as mentors are willing to tell people that we're going to be that for them, that's really standing for people. People don't want friends as much as they want leaders from a professional point of view. Some of my best mentors got in my face and pushed me beyond measure. And I did not like it in the moment, but those are the conversations I remember the most. And those are the people that I have the most fondness for in my path and the most respect for too.
Yes. Yeah. Nancy mentioned tough love. And it's so true, because, I like those words together, because the reason that you were open to that kind of feedback, Steve, was because they were coming from it from the right place. They were coming from a source of love and compassion and empathy for you. And they could see an opportunity that if they put that little extra, come on, man, I'm going to give you a little, then that's the tip over the crest. And if they didn't believe in you, they wouldn't have done it. They wouldn't have wasted their time. So it's so true. Nancy said that's how she learned. And Tara, I like this. No, it's probably someone from the team.
Somebody from the team. Well, whoever it is, thank you for sharing truth, Steve. I love you all.
Yeah. Tara, I think you're right. That is one thing about jumping kind of into the suite right off the bat. Like you learn so much from just picking each other's brains. And Adina, so I don't know if you know Adina Das, but she's a Redken artist, and she's actually a very spiritual woman herself. She actually has a show on Wednesday mornings that she does. I think it's Wednesday mornings. Remind me, Adina. But she
Thank you,
has like kind of
Belinda.
a spiritual community. And Trina,
Love that, Adina.
this is
Definitely
what I
want
think
to,
is
definitely want to dial into that.
yeah. Put it into the chat, Adina. Trina, I think this is really brilliant too, kind of talking on that connection point. Now, I think in the beginning, there was a lot of chaos. There was a lot of conflict within communities around COVID because there was so much discussion. Should we close? Should we not close? Should we fight back again? And what should we do? Should we sell color to our clients? Like all these crazy things
All
happen.
those things, yeah,
But then we saw a pretty quick shift, I think. We went, oh, wait, no, I should actually probably make friends with these people. And I've heard so many stories like that, Trina, where people have come together and now they're actually much closer with their communities. So it's interesting how these challenging times many times bring us closer together too.
They do. You know, it's funny because the story I was going to share about interdependent leadership, I was just in Omaha 2 Mondays ago. I got to do my second and third live in-salon visit since the pandemic. You know, and I'm so thankful for it. And talk about extra planning to make sure that we're pulling off everybody 6 feet apart and in masks and me 15 feet away from everybody. And so I could facilitate, like, there was a lot of planning involved, right? And a lot of conscious honor and support of space, right? But in that community in Omaha, there was a group of 15 salon owners that got together organically and created a Facebook group with each other and started to communicate with each other about what was going on and sharing ideas and best practices. And I got PPPE, or, you know, here's the PPP loan information. I bought PPE stuff from here, and they started working with each other. And 2 salons that I happened to coach were part of that group. So, you know, I went out and I did back-to-back training visits with both of those businesses, and they had not met each other up until the pandemic. And now they're totally connected and sharing ideas with each other. And we all had a dinner the night in between both trainings, and, you know, just got to collaborate and connect and really share a lot of great things. And it was really awesome. But I definitely want to give a interdependent idea to all of you out there. And again, if you work in a business, bring this to your leaders. If you're a suite owner, get fellow peers connecting with you. But what I did was, one of the exercises I did, first part of the training was really all about self-directed, looking individually at where you're at, where you want to be, how you want to grow. And you know, what were the lessons you've learned throughout the shutdown, and how do you want to propel yourself into the rest of the year to finish strong? And then once we did the individualized work, we then shifted into, okay, what makes us great as a team? Because we are a community serving a community. That's who we are as a salon. We're a community, whether there's 3 of us, 5 of us, 30 of us, 100 of us, we're a community serving a greater community. So how can we as a community continue to grow? Let's start with our strengths. What do we hang our hat on? What are we proud of? What have we accomplished? Because we are our own worst critics. And especially in this industry, we're taught to be perfectionists. The haircut has to be perfect, right? So same thinking again. So, you know, by starting with what we appreciate and what we're proud of and what we've accomplished, we empower ourselves to then focus on how we can improve. And I invite all of us to do that. The next time you sit down to set goals, the first thing is look backwards to see what you've accomplished. Be proud. It's not about ego. That's about recognizing the journey and appreciating everything you've gone through to get to this moment, and that you actually have something to give and even more to give, and that you're wiser than you know. And once you're grounded in that place, then you can begin to focus on how do we improve? How do we continue to accentuate? So the group collectively, I asked each person to write down how can we get better, and then put them in groups of 4, to then have them share what's the top 3, and then wrote the top 3 up on the flip charts, and then circled the common ones, and then put them in new groups and gave them a half hour to take those common areas and attack them and create plans. And then myself and the owner poked holes in the plans that they came up with, you know, making it go from general to more specific, and by when dates and actions and who's going to do it. And, you know, now we've got a team of 18 people working in 4 areas of the business in groups of 4 or 5 that are taking full control, and all the owner, Eric, is doing is overseeing. That's all he's doing. Overseeing. Everybody else is involved in pushing the agendas and driving things. Get everyone involved. Don't try and figure it out on your own.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you don't have the crew within the salon to do that, start a mastermind group, because that's a great way to start to create that interdependence within your community. Is kind of like you were saying, let's bring all our ideas to the table, let's question them, let's feedback from each other. I have a mastermind group that I go to about twice a month. You know, it's such a great way to get that sense of interdependence without having a huge salon to count on for that.
Correct.
Very nice.
So, you know I had one more piece that I wanted to share of our 3, and I just remembered it, and I don't know what our timeline is. I've got, another 10 to 15 minutes, but I don't know if you're a hard stop. So are we a hard stop right at the top of the hour?
Nope, we can go a few minutes over for sure. I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah, people are enjoying it, so I'm sure we can continue on for a few extra minutes.
Okay, cool. So here's something, everybody, that I want you 4 more minutes. Thanks, Adina.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the best I can.
I'm glad you saw that.
38 seconds, 3 minutes and 37 seconds. I scratched my nose. Adina. Anyways, I love y'all. One area that I've been seeing since we've reopened the doors is an interesting trend. And I coach about 20 salons and spas a month. So I'm seeing it literally across every single one of them. And in other businesses that I engage with, is that new client retention is something that we're not looking at and something that we must focus on. What I invite you all to do is go backwards and look at what your total client count was January, February, pre-shutdown. And then since you've reopened, look at overall client count and see if you've had a dip. Now, if you're pretty much where you were or slightly below it because of capacity issues and the amount of guests that you can serve, that makes sense. But one thing to look at inside of that, since you reopened, is how many new clients you've seen. Because what I'm seeing on the street is that almost every business has seen a ton of new guests, but they're not focused on it or tracking it. So once I started to look at that trend, I was like, okay, you were averaging 700 clients a month pre-COVID. You're now averaging 650. But in that 650 a month, you've gotten about 50 new guests a month. So without those 50 new guests, you'd be down 100 client count in your traffic. So where's the rest of those people? So go back and look at who hasn't come in and reach out to them and invite them to come back in. But with the 50 hypothetical, here's the funny part. And it's not funny, it's scary, but I want all of us looking at it. The average of all these businesses that I'm working with of brand new guests that have come in since we've reopened that have not come back, they only came in the once, 68%. That's the trending average, 68. So I just invite all of you, I urge all of you to look at your new client data today. Go grab it, pull the reports, and start looking at it. Because and look at how many of them have rebooked and come back, and how many of them come back for a 3rd visit, how many have come back for a 4th visit. If your software can give you that data, go look at it and bring that data and share it with whomever. Again, if you're independent, share it with your peers, share it with your sales rep, consultants, share it with your team if you work inside an operation with other people. And don't look at it from a place of panic or, oh my goodness, look at it from thank God we're looking at this. All right. And look at our percentage. What we've been missing a beat here, because before COVID, new clients were always gold in your hands. Now they're diamonds slipping through your fingers potentially. And we want you to capture that landscape and keep as much of it as you can. So by noticing what your trends are, it's just going to do what data always does. Create a conversation and a dialogue. Get us aware. Look at what we are doing that worked. Look at how are we maybe missing the beat? What can we do differently with the new guest to get them to come in? What can we do differently when they're with us to wow them? What can we do differently after they leave to follow up, to ensure that they remember us, right? Critical for all of us to be focused on that conversation right now. Any thoughts on that, Andrew?
Yeah, I'd just, as we're kind of getting to the point of wrap up, I'd love for you to just share what has been that top thing that your salons that you're coaching are finding helps them to retain those guests.
Well, the busyness has been getting in the way. There's just so much of a focus on, getting used to PPEs and just getting back to work. And it was just one thing that was kind of left by the wayside. So in a lot of the businesses that I'm coaching, we're working in groups. We're getting the team to come up with strategies, new client welcome packages, digital new client welcoming, more consultation before they show up. A Zoom conversation to connect with that new guest, adding in tours if those, or getting back to them when clients are first coming in, giving them special things that they can leave with, whether it's samples. Just some of these things are basic and we should be doing them anyways, but sometimes we just forget and we get away from it. But, just getting aware of it again and working on it and focusing on it is very, very critical. And then the follow-up piece, a lot of the businesses were not following up. We're not reaching out and sending a text or an email or what I think is critical, an actual human phone call. How long is it going to take you to call and, call 6 people? It might take you a half hour if you get some of them live, but even if you just leave a message, they're going to appreciate, if they're going to respect you, that you're following up at that level, and they just might, a few more of them might come back to you. And look at it like this, and this is what we certainly don't do, and please take this to the bank. Let's say you have a $100 average ticket per guest, and you have 10 new guests. If you keep that one new guest, right? You want to focus on that one person and they become loyal. They're going to come back 8 times in the year on average. And that's just for the service. We're not even including retail, right? So just for the service. So that's $800. And if they're really loyal and they love what you do, they're staying with you on average 5 years. So that's $4,000. So we, Andrew, myself, Sam, we invite you to look at every new guest that's sitting in your chair as $4,000 over the next 5 years. I guarantee you're going to approach them with a little different mindset, more than likely.
Yeah.
But we don't think at that macro level, Andrew. We don't, and we need to. We need to remember that, am I on my A game no matter what is going on? Am I ready to serve at a meticulous and high level, that white glove approach? Because all my regular guests deserve it. All my new guests deserve it. But in this uncertain times and in this climate, I better heighten my awareness of it, and we better roll that red carpet out. And one way to speak to a lot of stylists is say, hey, that one guest, that's $4,000 potentially over the next 5 years. And heck, that's one. If that's 10, that's 40,000.
Yeah. When you put it in that perspective, that makes a much bigger impact than like, oh, that's just $100 today.
Absolutely. So I really hope that was valuable for everybody. It's an urgent message that I'm giving in every conversation I'm having with clients or on webinars or when I'm a guest like this, to focus in on that new client traffic, know what your percentages are, get the team involved, focus on the big picture impact of it so that we can really manage that at a much higher level. Beautiful. Yeah. I was just asked, what do you say for a follow-up message? Really, Kara, it's reaching out, and even if I'm leaving a message for Andrew and I'm not getting him live, hey Andrew, this is Steve from Steve's Salon. I'm just reaching out. It was great to meet you on Tuesday. I'm really thankful to have served you. I want to know how the cut or look or color is growing in. I recommended these 2 products for you to go home and use. I want to know how it's going from a styling or from a shampoo and health and feel perspective. Please let me know how I can help. You can call me back, or you can text me, whatever works best for you. Email is great as well. Look forward to hearing back.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Just get reconnected to what they got, reconnected to the energy of the moment. Let them feel that again from you, and that you're just being thorough and reaching out. It's that simple, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And that you basically hit exactly what we talked about for our new client callbacks, because we had a system at Lunatic Fringe that when you got a new client, you must reach out with a personal phone call. And that was pretty much our script. Was first off, genuine gratitude just for connecting. Try to find something from the conversation that just kind of reconnect on a personal level, and just come back to the service, review the service, review any recommendations, things like that. But then make sure you put something in there that invites them back into the space, whether it's a phone call, a message, come back in and let me, if you need anything, ... But an invitation back into the space.
Totally. Andrew, just look at Trina's comment right there. That's exactly why we're having this conversation right now. That's it right there. I literally have been so focused on other things. I haven't ran a first client retention report in a couple months, and that's just the thing.
Thank you, Trina.
There's so many things. Thank you, Trina. There's so many things to look at, that sometimes these things just get missed. So, I'm glad if even one of you is going to go back and look at that, then we're making an impact,
I think you have a lot of people that are going to go back and take a look at this stuff. And Adina mentioned that she went back to her clientele before the shutdown and just personally connected with those people, like you said, that hadn't been on the books. And she booked 10 clients in 3 days by doing that, personally reaching out to them.
There it is.
Huge.
It doesn't, and it probably didn't take as long as you would think. And even if it takes you an hour, all right, I've just booked 10 people at $100 average ticket. That's $1,000. Was booking $1,000 of income that you can expect worth an hour of your time? Hell to the yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Steve, I love you, dude. You're so awesome.
Thank you, brother, man. It's the funny thing is when you and I get together, it's just, we're just rapping, right? That's what I love about being able to connect with a good friend, and that we get to serve other people at the same time. What a gift that life presents us in this moment. So I cherish this. It fills my soul, and I'm super appreciative, man.
Yeah. So I know that on the screen we have Steve's Instagram handle, Salon Coach SJG, Stephen J. Gomez. We have his website, stephengomez.net. Where do they find the books?
You can go to my website. You can go to my store that's on my website, and you can find all of that. I've got a couple of books: Financial Fitness, Systems to Increase Salon and Spa Profitability. I also have a webinar series that is 10 recordings, about 11 and a half hours of me teaching the world of salon and spa finance. That book has about 23 spreadsheets that comes with it that are very niched specifically to our industry. And each spreadsheet has an instruction guide. So if you're sitting there trying to figure it out, the instruction guide will tell you, here's where you get the data. Here's how you plug it in. Here's what you're looking at. If it says this, do these 5 things. If it says that, do those 4 things. I wanted to make it self-teaching. I wanted to make the whole thing a self-teaching journey. I also have an independent stylist webinar series that comes with that book too, where I niche everything for those of you that are independent. So if you feel that my vibe and my energy jams with you, go check any of that stuff out. I'm not attached to any of that stuff. What I am committed to is that if there's something that Andrew and I talked about today that touched a nerve, don't let it just be a conversation, because conversations come and go. Make a commitment to take some action, no matter what it is. I don't care if it's a first step, even if it's following me or following Andrew on Insta. That's a step. You're staying connected to something empowering. Take a step. Insight without action is just an idea that and they really come and go. So make a commitment to have a productive rest of your week this week and act on something. Finish the week strong. Take that extra step.
Absolutely. Gosh, thank you so much, Steve, and thank you everyone that stayed with us for this hour and 10 minutes, packed full of content, packed full of ideas. We so appreciate your participation. Like I said, we're going to take next Monday off from again Monday, so we will see you guys next week on Transformation Tuesday. Thank you, Steve. Hang out backstage just for a minute. I'll be with you in just a second.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody from around the world. Stay safe out there. Be mindful and keep kicking ass. Level up, like we heard earlier.
That's right.